Yeah. Oh, thank you. Mwah. Mm. Bunk. 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 Hello, everyone, and welcome back down here to the Gamer's Den with me, your host, Jordan, your master of lore and storyteller extraordinaire. Now, as the title promises, we are going right on along with the Bard Guide, and we're taking a look at the class's, well, class abilities. And just to let you know, I've had to break this up into two different parts. On account of bardic performance. Bardic performance is an incredibly important part of the bard class. It's basically the cornerstone ability. But there's a lot that you get under it. Not that the ability is necessarily complex, but you get just so many other abilities with it, depending on the performance skills that you have laid out. And ideally, you should have all of them unlocked. But we'll cover that in another video. But for now, we are going to go on right along here with the other various class abilities that you get. And starting us off with the Bard, we get proficiency with simple weapons, the longsword, rapier, sap, short sword, short bow, and the whip. And with as far as armor goes, you get proficiency with light armor and shields, not tower shields, but then again, not many classes, if any, get tower shield proficiency right off the bat. And you do not take an armor check penalty for these when casting spells. You don't have that arcane spell failure chance at all. So this is incredibly handy. So this will allow you to be definitely more durable than other squishier spellcasters, and to be able to survive better those rare options when this particular build does end up getting into melee. And when you do, you have options like the longsword and the rapier that will be able to carry you through a lot of fights. I think in this case, with this particular build, since we're focusing on building up the dexterity and charisma more than anything else, there's a really strong case to be made for rapier being the superior option for you. But if you do end up with a long sword, you're not going to be hurting too bad at all, because we do have a solid strength score here, and this will allow us to two-hand the weapon and get a little bit more damage out of it. Although again, we do have the shields there, but if you do a buckler and two-handing the longsword, you should come out all right. And then, of course, another ability, one of the first actual class abilities, not just proficiencies that we get, is bardic knowledge, and this one just makes you that powerhouse researcher, the most knowledgeable character on the field. You get to add half your bard level to all of your knowledge checks. And given that all knowledge skills are class skills for you, dropping even one skill point into them will get you, of course, that one skill point, the +3 miscellaneous modifier that you get for investing in class skills. And once you hit level 4, well, that's another +2 right there. And adding in your intelligence modifier, you're sitting around a 7 or an 8 right off the bat there. And if you do this with all of your knowledge skills, well, you're going to be staying in the I was going to say in the fight, but that's not quite right. You'll be able to research almost anything, and on a level where you very minimally have to invest any of your skill points. And given some of the bard's other class abilities, you can really start to spread around that 6 plus your intelligence modifier pretty readily. I mean, versatile performance does so much to help you free up other skill points. But let's go ahead and keep moving right on along. We have bardic performance up next here. Now, what this does in general here, bards can use perform skills to create magical effects on themselves and those around them for a number of rounds equal to 4 plus your charisma modifier. Hence why we want to have a good charisma score, not just all the performances and the different face abilities like bluff and diplomacy, but this will boost the number of rounds you can have bardic performance going for. The bard gets another 2 rounds for each level after first. The bard can't have more than one performance in effect at any given time, and starting a performance takes a standard action, but can be maintained with a free action. At 7th level, A performance can be started as a move action, so the action economy starts to get better around this. And by 13, it tops off by only taking a swift action to activate. And performances will have audible and visual components, or both, meaning you need to have, if you're going to be affecting certain creatures with different performances, they need to either be able to see you or hear you. So if they're blind or deaf, certain abilities may not work on them at all. But, that's always doesn't always come up a whole lot, and you can be certain more often than not that a lot of your more offensive performances will be able to have an effect on at least some of the creatures on the battlefield. More importantly, though, you will be able to boost your allies pretty readily because, well, ideally, most of them are going to be able to see you or hear you, so you'll be able to give out these boosts as much as possible. And also, I'd mentioned versatile performance before, but at second level, you get to choose one perform skill. The bard can use their total bonus in that perform skill for its associated skills, whether or not they have ranks in the skill, or even if it's a class skill. At 6th level and every 4 levels thereafter, the bard can select another perform to substitute. And to break it down a little bit further for you, for the perform skills and their substitutions, act can substitute for bluff and disguise, comedy for bluff and intimidate, dance for acrobatics and fly, keyboard instruments for diplomacy and intimidation, oratory for diplomacy and sense motive, percussion for handle animal and intimidate, singing for bluff and sense motive, string instruments for bluff and diplomacy, and wind instruments will cover diplomacy and handle animal. So this is where you need to take a little bit of care in planning things out because a bunch of these cover some of the same skills. So it's important to not have a whole lot of overlap when you're selecting versatile performance. Also, if you go online to the D20 Pathfinder system reference document site, which I'll provide a link for down here, versatile performance has some alternate options where at 6th level, instead of selecting another perform skill for versatile performance, you can just select another skill out of a list to add in to the versatile performance you've already selected. So that can be another route to go where you're, instead of nitpicking on which class ability or which your performance skills you want to use to substitute for other skills, you can just focus on one performance and just keep adding things into it. So that is an option as well. And it's actually a really handy option. Definitely one I would consider running with. But it also makes sense, though, to have a couple of different perform skills, given that bardic performance, some of the different abilities under that require different performances. So there's a little bit of a balancing act to be had there. Or if you have a specific build in mind, then you can get away with not doing that as well. And the next ability that the bard gets is Well-Versed. For Well-Versed at 2nd level, the bard gains a +4 bonus on saves versus other bards' performances and on sonic effects in general. Now, this one's a good ability to have. It's not as good as the others, but any bonuses against enemy abilities is just a good thing to have in general. The thing is that other bards' performances don't always come up a whole lot, and sonic attacks don't really come up too terribly much either. Not that it's impossible to have them come your way, and certainly if you're making a bard, hopefully your DM will throw a couple of things at you that have sonic attacks just so you can get full use of your class abilities. But this is just a nice one to have. It's a nice little bonus for when it does come up. And then for Lore Master, at 5th level, the bard can take 10 on any knowledge skill that they have ranks in. Once a day, you can take a 20 as a standard action. This ability may be used one additional time per day every 6 levels the bard possesses beyond 5th, to a maximum of 3 times per day at 7th level or 17th level. And this is pretty nice to have, honestly. I mean, being able to take a 20 just right off the bat for any of your knowledge skills, I mean, by the time you hit level 5, level 6, I mean, That's a +3 bonus right there with all, assuming you're not even investing into your knowledge skills all that much. You just could very easily be sitting around a 10 or 11 and being able to take a 20. It's a 31 right off the bat. You're going to know pretty much everything about most topics. Only the very most esoteric or rare, healed, and actively concealed types of lores are going to be beyond your grasp. And if it's something you have actively been putting skill points in, like knowledge arcana, religion, or the planes, one of those to help identify a lot of different things, then you're going to know some of the most remote, rare, esoteric, and bizarre lores, that the strangest minutiae of details that most people wouldn't have even thought of or conceived of ever existing in any way, shape, or form as a joke or in reality. So this is a nice, really, really, really nice ability to have for those non-combat situations when research is highly important. And certainly for me, with the games I run, I definitely like to challenge players in other ways than just combat. And of course, continuing on from there, we get Jack of all trades at 10th level. And with this, the bard can use any skill, even if normally the skill requires training. Meaning, if it's a skill that's not a class skill and you need to have a specific class or have a specific teacher get you access to that skill, you can just up and take it just for being a bard. At 16th level, the bard considers all skills to be class skills, and then at 19th level, the bard can take 10 on any skill check, even if it's not normally allowed. So this is a nice, handy override for a lot of those different things. And being able to take a 10 on any skill check, no matter, I mean, this is no matter what the situation is. You could have a Baylor bearing down on you, ready to detonate, and a situation where definitely a lot of panic should be setting in, and you can take a 10 for this, for whatever that skill check might be, whatever that necessary last moment clutch play kind of thing that you have in mind. You can take 10 on it and be reasonably assured that your skill will go through. But it all just depends on what exactly the situation is. But overall, this is still a really good ability. And then for the Bard's level 20 capstone ability, we have Adoring Fan. At 20th level, the Bard can select a target within 30 feet and perform for one full round. The target has to make a DC 10 plus 1/2 Bard level plus your Charisma modifier check, or be dominated as per the Dominate monster spell for as long as the Bard plays for. After the Bard stops, they're charmed for 1d4 hours afterwards. Now, if this is definitely an ability that can work in combat. It's I think this is better as a more of an opener kind of a thing. When you need to kill a target, say you're being subterfuge, you're a spy of some kind, you've been assigned to assassinate some high ranking ruler or official, and they have this elite badass bodyguard with them. Well, granted, you're a level 20 bard, so most targets should be pretty easily reachable for you. But in order to keep your hands, well, clean, you just start performing, and you select one target who's really going to uh, notice what you're doing. If you're playing with all kinds of subterfuge and cunning and guile, you're just performing, but you force the target to make this check, and they fail, and now they're dominated, and you can direct them, this high-end bodyguard, to kill this official, or at the start of whatever kind of a fight, if or in the midst of whatever kind of a fight that you might be in. This one can easily, quickly turn the tide for you. Even though it's only one target, you pick the right target and you can shift the tide of battle pretty readily. This is a really cool spell to have, and Dominate Monster is an absolute must for a lot of different spellcasters. I mean, the effects that it can have on the battlefield cannot be understated. And the fact that they're still charmed for several hours afterwards, I mean, this is a target that's going to be helping carry you through a lot of fights as you're plucking away different arrows, your party's throwing out spells and charging into combat. Really, really, really cool to have. Definitely not a bad capstone ability at all. It's not great because you got to be within 30 feet of the target, but we're planning on being relatively close-ish range anyways. So, there you have it. These are all the bard abilities. Like I said, next time around we're going to be covering bardic performance and all the different little goodies that you get out of that. But for now, we're going to call it here. I've been your host, Jordan, your master of lore and storyteller extraordinaire. If you enjoyed today's video, then go on down there, let me know, hit the like button, leave a comment. I certainly love getting the feedback, and I love the different exchanges and dialogues I've been having with you all. And if you enjoyed today's video, there's going to be 2 more popping up over here that maybe you'll enjoy as well. But if you've been enjoying content overall and this hasn't been your first stop, go on down there, hit the subscribe button, and join us here at the Gamers Den. We'll certainly be happy to have you. But once again, I've been your host, Jordan. Thank you all so much for your time, and you all have yourselves a good day.